I know it's hard to understand, but sometimes painful things like this happen. It's all part of the process of exploration and discovery. The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery.
We have to make an effort to understand, to get beyond or go beyond these rather difficult times.
What we've already achieved gives us hope for what we can and must achieve tomorrow.
Think about it. If you laugh, you think, and you cry, that's a full day. That's a heck of a day.
Men will still say, this was their finest hour.
Hi, I'm Nicholas DeAngelis, and welcome to D-Licious History, where history is taught as food for thought. I often get asked, what's your favorite part of history? Typically, without even really being given a chance to answer, the Second World War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, ancient Greece, hell, even the Constitutional Convention are assumed to be my favorite topics. Really, while all of those are immensely fascinating to me, and I could religiously study any of them for a lifetime, they aren't it. Now, the topics I love the most are the events and circumstances that created a revolutionary change in society, but aren't necessarily recognized as the game changers that they were. The underappreciated histories, if you will. When I was choosing my first topic for this podcast, I wanted to pick a topic that resolutely defined that attitude towards history. As a Rhode Islander, there's no better topic in American history, probably, than the Gaspee Affair. Now, that's obviously hyperbole, but it is close to home, and it was pretty inspiring. And it was paramount to the pre-revolution antics that led to America's war for independence. Seems like it was perfect. But as I did some research, I came to a resounding realization. Rhode Island's history is deep. Like, way deeper than just a few rebels who didn't like taxes. The Gaspee Affair is merely the tip of the iceberg. Ultimately, I found that Rhode Island has gone relatively underrepresented in the narrative of the American Revolution. I mean, by the time I was a sophomore in college, I had never heard of the St. John's incident or the May 4th Convention, and my knowledge of the Gaspee Affair was woefully insufficient. And now here's the thing, I'd be willing to bet it's the same thing for you. And you'd be justified in asking, how? I mean, I myself grew up here, and I didn't know this important pre-revolution story. I don't know, maybe I'm just oblivious. I mean, that's what I thought. And then I started skimming through some textbooks, and what do you know? The Gaspee Affair is given one or two passing sentences, and the rest is omitted altogether. I think that's an error. As a Rhode Islander, I am almost foolishly proud of my heritage, and I think my fellow Ocean Staters will join me in saying it's time to review this narrative and give us simple folk a little bit more credit in these history books. I mean, seriously, when you really dig into the stories and truly understand the foundation of Rhode Island society, it isn't difficult to see how the smallest colony may have played one of the biggest roles. But how, right? How did it come that this tiny speck of wilderness littered with outlaws and barbarians found themselves smack at the center of some of the most important colonial events? Well, that's the purpose of this podcast. To introduce the individuals that founded Rhode Island, the conflicts that hardened and built it, and the controversies that defined its independent nature and rebellious attitude. This is Burning for Revolution, the Wicked History.
You know there ain't no rest for the wicked. Money don't grow on trees.
I plan to break this show down into three periods. The Early Colonial Period, the Post-Williams Period, and the Revolutionary Period. See the description for more details. Thanks for listening. Stay hungry.
There ain't no rest for the wicked until we close our eyes for good.